Hey everybody, it's Jackie from Otherwise, and welcome to my channel. So today we're going to make ground beef stroganoff. So let's go over the ingredients list. So I'm going to start with 1 pound of ground beef, and it's thawed, and I've mashed it down into my pan to make it thinner so it'll cook quicker. And I'm going to cook it for 25 minutes on 350 degrees, and I wanted this to go ahead and start cooking, so I'm going to put it in the oven. So next I have my seasonings. I have a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic. I have some flour. I have 2 tablespoons here. I have 2 tablespoons of butter that I've cut off the stick. I need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I need mushrooms. I've got a jar of mushrooms. I've got 4 ounces here, and I've got 4 ounces here. I don't have any fresh mushrooms, which is my preference, and that's what I'd rather use. I need a medium onion, some sour cream, beef broth, some egg noodles, and some parsley. I don't have fresh parsley. My parsley plant only has a couple of leaves on it, so I'm going to use dried. I also need 1 10-ounce can of mushroom soup, but I don't have mushroom soup, so I'm going to make my own. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to make some mushroom soup, and what I have in the pan is the flavor and the grease that was left over from when I made steaks the other night. Well, I actually only made 1, and so I'm not sure I have enough grease in there, so I'm gonna add some butter. Actually, I'm just going to add a whole tablespoon. So I'm going to turn on my burner to 8, and we'll let this melt. Now, all the stuff that was left over in the bottom of the pan, I saved that kind of stuff because I'm going to use it again. And that's a lot of flavor that you will lose just by throwing it away. So don't throw it away. Don't throw anything away. Don't throw your grease away after you fry some meat. With the food shortages that are coming, you're going to need that. You might not be able to get the oil that you usually use. And you're going to need it. So it's starting to bubble. Alright, so I'm going to start with a tablespoon of flour. And I want to make about 1.5 cups of sauce. I'm going to do more than, well, I guess 1.5 cups would be about, a cup is 8 ounces. So 1.5 cups would be about 12. So that'd be right for our can of mushroom soup. So that's 2 tablespoons of flour. Alright, it's starting to stick to the bottom. I don't want it to do that. That was 1.5 cups of the mushroom juice out of the jar. And there's a little more. So I put it in my liquid measuring cup, the juice from the mushroom jar, and then I filled the rest of it up with beef broth, up to a cup and a half. I'm going to turn it up to 9. Here, I see it starting to bubble. And then it'll start getting thick. And because I'm not going to use this immediately, I don't want it to get too thick, because it will continue to thicken as it sits. Go add some salt, because if you bought cream of mushroom soup, it would have lots of salt in it. I'm gonna break up some mushrooms, put them right in here. Now I'm turning it back down. I'm turning it down to 7. Still sort of thin. I'm gonna keep cooking. The soup that you would buy at the grocery store would be made with milk, but I didn't make mine that way. I made it with beef broth to add more beefy flavor. So this is thicker, and it doesn't coat the spoon very well, but if you see, the line there stays, so it's all right. It tastes thicker than it looks. So I'm just going to go with this and remove this from the heat, because I do not want it to get too thick. Here is my ground beef. I'm just going to check it and make sure it's bubbling here. I'm going to let it sit and let that let the juice reabsorb into the meat. I am going to remove it from the heat though. I have filled up my pot with water for my egg noodles. I'm going to add some salt, about a tablespoon of salt, and I'm going to put it over on the other eye to start boiling. I'm going to use my large cast iron frying pan for this, because it's got a big lip on the side, a big edge, and I want to be able to put everything in the same pan. So I'm going to go ahead and put my hamburger and the juice right in here. Now see all that right there? That's lots of good flavor. So I'm going to scrape all that out. And now I'm just going to chop it up. And if I'd have thought I was going to use this pan, I would have cooked the ground beef in it to start, because I don't want to have to wash extra dishes. But I didn't know what I was going to do. So I chopped it all one direction to break it up this way, and now I'm going to go this way. So be careful when you're cooking your ground beef, especially if you do it in the oven, because you don't want it to get hard. You don't want it to shrink, because if it shrinks, then it will have lost all of its juice, and it will be a smaller portion. So keep an eye on it. You want to cook it for 25 minutes. Even if it's a little pink, that's alright, because we're going to cook it some more in here. Now mine is not pink, but it didn't get overcooked. So alright. So that looks pretty good. All nice and chopped up, small bites. So there's enough oil in there. I probably don't need to use the butter. I'm going to stir up my mixture, my spices, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. I think I'm going to go ahead and use this. So I'm going to melt my butter and turn it on to 7. I'm going to go ahead and season my meat. And I'm going to put this 2 tablespoons of flour on it. It'll sort of coat the meat. I'm just going to stir it up. That will also provide a thicker gravy with the meat coated like that. And put that in the middle so it'll melt. While this is cooking, I'm going to chop up my onions. Turn it up to about 8. It's really good. Alright. So to get some of this grease off, I'm going to tilt my pan to the side and just let it drain over to the corner there. And I'm going to move the ground beef and put it back in my pan that I cooked it in the first time. Alright. Now I'm going to cook my onions. So I chopped them pretty big this time. This is a medium dice, probably. should cook the onions about 5 minutes or so. That's a papery piece. Add the mushrooms. My water's boiling for the egg noodles, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in there. So I'm going to cover it up and let it steam a little bit, and that should make the onions soft. Alright, now let's get them going. I'm going to add my ground beef back to the pan. And all the juice. And I'm going to add the gravy. Alright, I'm going to say that's done. Now, I'm going to add some sour cream, about a cup, and 3/4 cup. And then I'm going to add some more seasoning. A little more pepper. Garlic salt, just a little. And it's probably salty enough. Taste it and see. Yeah, plenty salty enough. So here's my noodles. And we're just going to sprinkle some parsley right on the top. Be better if it was fresh. That's our finished dish.